Let's delve into the Machzor. Usually the davening of Yamim Noaim is elevating to one extent or the other. I'm sure some of us have at least moments in davening where we feel a spiritual upliftment. Some of us feel it throughout the days, but there might be something missing. And I personally experienced it many years during my youth where I didn't really understand what was it that we were doing. I'm standing there davening, what davening actually is. So I'm speaking to Hashem, okay, but I'm telling him these words. Why these words and why in this way? What is it that I'm doing here? So everyone's singing nicely and doing it together and understanding that I'm standing before Hashem. All of that is very spiritually uplifting. But it could be even more if we actually understand what is it that we are doing. So what I want to do is to step into the Machzor, and we are not going to study individual tefillot. What I want us to see is to look and have an understanding of what we might call the grammar of tefillah. And when we walk into the Machzor on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we will understand what is it that we are doing. When we're standing there in shul, what is it that we're doing right now? And that gives a whole new different experience. Today, we're not going to talk not about Rosh Hashanah, not about Yom Kippur. So at the end of this Shiur, at the end of the day, you don't know anything particular about Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, but you will already know a lot that you would be able to implement even to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. But we're going to discuss today the general concept of tefillah. What is it? How is it structured? Because as we will see, tefillah is structured. Tefillah of today, of Shabbat, of Yom Tov, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. There is something that is the same in all tefillot, and we're going to understand that, and that will give us an understanding of what tefillah is. When we look at, let's call it Jewish liturgical landscape, then we might picture it as walking into Lego world or Legoland, depending where you come from. And so you have various beautiful buildings or objects built from little pieces of Lego. And in some way, tefillah is also that way. There are different groups of different tefillot that we say at different times, but they're all made up of the same units. Can anyone think of what are the units that tefillot are made of at different occasions? Whatever the occasion is, whatever we do, they're made up of specific units. Let's not even call it tefillot. Let's say liturgical performances or instances or actions. What are they made of? They're all made out of what we might see brachot. Okay, brachot, not praises, brachot. And we'll have to discuss what a bracha is. But we have the Shmoneh Esrei is basically a set of brachot. Before Shmoneh Esrei, we have the Bikot Yashma, that's another set of brachot. Before that, we have the Bikot HaShachar, that's another set of brachot. We have Psukei de Zimra, which is also brachot. It's Kapitel Tehillims, but at the opening and the ending, we have brachot. And then we have other brachot sets that are not necessarily part of the service in shul, but are on other occasions. We have a set of 7 brachot, Sheva brachot, that we say at a wedding. We have a set of brachot that we say after we read the Haftarah. We have a set of brachot that we say after we eat. We call it Birkat HaMazon. It's a set of 4 brachot. We have a set of brachot. Should I continue? Anytime we say, sometimes we would say one individual bracha, sometimes it would be a set of brachot. But almost everything that we say are either one bracha or a set of brachot. So if we ask ourselves, what are the units that comprises tefillah, brachot? Okay, so if I ask myself, I want to understand tefillah, the best thing, right? If I'm a scientist, then I delve into the atom in order to understand physics. So what is the atom of tefillot? the unit is bracha. I want to delve into a bracha, understand what a bracha is, and through that to understand what tefillah is. But before we do that, just let's have a general landscape of tefillah. We take, for practical reasons, I take the longest tefillah we have of the day, which is shacharit. It has different parts, and we could see that each part is made of a set of brachot, but each part is something different to the other. So, for instance, we have the main components of tefillat shacharit are what? The two main components, the Shema and the Amidah, right? We will see that soon. Now, the Shema and the Amidah are two very different things. The Amidah is what we call prayer. It's standing before Hashem, davening, okay? The Shema is a declaration of faith, or an affirmation of faith, right? Something very different. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Who is that statement addressed at? And our fellows that are sitting next to us, right? Here, Israel, maybe our great-grandfather Yaakov Avinu, Israel, right? But we're not telling Hashem, we're telling us that we are faithful to Hashem. That's different to standing before Hashem and davening and speaking to Hashem, which is the Amidah. Two very different things. But even when we speak to Hashem, we might do it in different ways. For instance, in Tefillat, let's break Shacharit into its components. So we have Birkot HaShachar, then we have Psukei de Zimra, then we have Birkot Kriyat Shema, then we have the Amidah. After the Amidah, we have a few other things that we say, but that is less important for us today. And there is also the Korbanot that we say at a certain point, but that is also less important to us today. The main structure is what I just described to you. Now, what is each part of that structure? So when we look at Birkot HaShachar today, for most of us, not for everyone, it is part of the service. We come to shul and start with Birkot HaShachar. But as we will see, it wasn't meant to be that way. It's not actually part of the service. It's part of waking up in the morning. But not everyone says it when they wake up in the morning. It's difficult. I don't remember what bracha to say when. So I come to shul and just say them all. I remember all those instances that happened this morning, and now I bless Hashem for them. But originally, let's look at source number one. The Gemara in Masechet Brachot tells us, Ki shama kol tarnegola. So I'm sleeping, and then boom, I wake up. I hear the tarnegol wakes me up. So I say, or maybe I'm not sleeping. Perhaps I washed my hands. I did netilat yadayim, because if not, I can say a bracha. That is a whole question, but we won't get into it right now. But I hear the rooster in the morning. I immediately say, Baruch Hashem natan lasechvi bina leavchin ben yom uven laila. Then I open my eyes. Leima Baruch Pokeach Ivrim. Then I sit down in my bed. I stretch myself and sit down. Leima. Then I say Baruch Matir Asurim. Ki lavish leima. I'm getting dressed. I say Baruch Malbish Harumim. Then I get up from my bed. I say Baruch Zokef Kefufim. Then I put my I walk. I put my feet on the ground. And I say, wow, Baruch Roka Aretz Alamayim. There is ground on which I could walk. Ki masgi. Then I start walking, and then I say, wow, Baruch HaMechin Mitzadei Gaver. Okay, you get the picture, right? I do something, and I immediately bless Hashem. It's basically sanctifying our waking up in the morning. Whatever I do, I don't just do it. Whatever happens to me doesn't just happen to me. I'm aware of everything, in the sense that I say a bracha immediately when it happens. Now that bracha somehow connects whatever is happening or whatever I'm doing immediately to Hashem. So imagine this. I wake up in the morning and immediately everything is connected to Hashem. From the moment I wake up. That is a very powerful statement and a very strong way to start the day. But that is not part of the service. That starts even before it. That is start of the day. Okay? So that is
question in parenthesis. But the list you just went through, it goes against everything I've ever learned in my entire life when it comes to saying brachot. Before I eat, I say a bracha and then I eat. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, the Levine know this.
Yeah.
Well, why is this afterwards?
very good. Very
It
good.
doesn't make any.
We might be able
contrary
to
everything
address it.
I've been taught.
Very good.
It's revolutionary, Rabbi. I'm glad we're underground.
I told you, yes. So there are a few other things that happen after. For instance, that there are type of brachot that you say after, not before. Let's say you see lightning, you hear thunder.
Can't say before.
Exactly, here too. So think about, what is this more like? Is it more like Birkot HaNe'enim or more like Birkot Hasheva? So that's Birkot HaReya. So that is something to think about. Maybe some of them are like this, some of them are like that, but that is okay. That is something to bear in mind. Very good point. Okay, so those are Birkot HaShachar. Then after Birkot HaShachar, we have Psukei Dezimah. What are Psukei Dezimah all about? So that comes to elevate us, that to set our spiritual, to basically awaken us, right? Sometimes it used to be, today you go into the car, you start the engine, and immediately it drives. I remember when I was a bit younger, I remember when you walked into a car, when you got into a car and you turned on the engine, you couldn't just drive off, especially on a cold day. You have to run the engine a bit, right? You have to let it run. And because if you'll start the car immediately, it will jump the engine and it will finish. You have to let the engine run and get excited, and now you can start going. That is basically Psukei Dezimah. Okay, we don't have time to look into that, but that you could believe me, right? It's elevating Pirkei Tehillim, exciting things. It's basically to set our minds right before we get to the meat of the tefillah, of the service, which is Kriyat Shema, and then tefillah. So, but even that, which are Pirkei Tehillim, etc., we say in the middle, it starts with a bracha, Baruch She'amar, and ends with Ishtabach, which also has a bracha, right? Ends with an ending. So that is Psukei Dezimah. Then we have Kriyat Shema, which is a declaration of faith, but also Psukei Dezimah have brachot before and after, right? Birkot Kriyat Shema, and we'll have to understand the natures of and what these brachot actually fulfill. Okay, and then we get to the Amidah, which is a set of brachot which we say standing up. Okay, and the question that I will ask soon is there a fundamental difference between the brachot of the Amidah and any other brachot that we say at any other time? But let's now look at the unit themselves. So basically we have brachot, but sometimes they serve as this, sometimes as that. Is that true? Let's think about it. We have the brachot of Birkot HaShachar, they serve one purpose, meaning sanctifying our waking up. We have the Birkot Psukei Dezimah, elevating us. We have the Birkot Kriyat Shema that surround the declaration of faith. And we have the brachot of the Amidah, which basically we stand in front of Hashem talking to him. Is that true? I'm not sure it's true, what I said. I'm not sure. In a way it is, but in a way it isn't. It's not. And you'll soon understand exactly what I mean. So let's delve into the bracha itself. Like pieces of Lego, they could be very different to each other. There are different colors, different shapes, different sizes, and so too brachot could be very different. But there is one thing that is similar to all Lego pieces. There are Lego pieces. There is what makes them into a Lego piece and not just a piece of plastic, right? So they could connect to each other. They're made of a certain way, in a certain way, right? There's a certain structure that makes them a Lego piece. So also brachot, they're not just units that we call them brachot. There is something in that unit that makes it a bracha. Even though they're very different to one another, there is something that is similar to all of them. So what is the first thing that is similar to all brachot? Okay, they all contain Shem Hashem. That's true. One thing, a bracha must contain Shem Hashem in order to be a bracha. Okay, sometimes we say brachot without a Shem u'malchut, but that is not really a bracha. That is like instead of a bracha. A bracha must contain Shem Hashem. But does anything that contains Shem Hashem is a bracha? Not necessarily. Right, no. So what? Sorry? The word Baruch, right? It's in the name, right? So bracha must contain the word Baruch. and it must contain other things. So if we look at the second source, what makes a bracha a bracha? So the Gemara in Masechet Brachot tells us, Amar Rav, Kol bracha she'en ba'azkarat Hashem eina bracha. Okay, so that is what you said, Naomi. It must have Hashem's name, Hashem Elokeinu. That is usually the name that we have in the Brachot. The Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Kol bracha she'en ba malchut eina bracha. Rabbi Yochanan adds to that, malchut, melech ha'olam. And there's another thing that, I'm sorry it didn't come in here, the word ata. The word ata. And the word ata is very important because I could say, Baruch Hashem Elokeinu, melech ha'olam, she'akol niya bidvaro. Okay, what is the difference between that bracha and Baruch ata Hashem Elokeinu, melech ha'olam, she'akol niya bidvaro? It's not only recognizing Hashem, but talking to Hashem. Talking ata, you. In a way, it might sound disrespectful, but in a way, we're not talking about Hashem, we're talking to Hashem. So now, when I said, maybe all brachot are not so different, all brachot, in all of the brachot, we address Hashem, and we must address Hashem. It must contain the word ata. Then afterwards, it might be about Hashem. Like even the short bracha, she'akol niya bidvaro, it's about Hashem. But the beginning of Hashem, we'll talk about it in a moment, but the beginning of the brachot, we address Hashem. We're talking to Hashem. So the fundamental thing about a bracha is that we're talking to Hashem. Not about
Hashem in third party, everything is always direct.
No, so I said that the rest of the bracha might be in third party. But the introduction is always direct, in order to be sure to affirm to ourselves, to others, and to Hashem. Yes, Hashem knows it even without we. But to affirm that we're talking to Hashem. That is what a bracha is. Okay, so if you look, the basic formula is Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech Ha'olam. In order for a bracha to be a bracha, it must contain these words. And then there are other rules of how exactly it goes. So I'll go into very few technicalities. This is technical, what I'm going to say now. You don't have to remember it. It's not part of understanding the shiur, but just that we know. Sometimes you will see there's a set of brachot. Sometimes a bracha, maybe 4 sets. Sometimes a bracha starts with the word Baruch Ata Hashem. Sometimes it just starts saying something, and then at the end, it would say Baruch Ata Hashem and conclude. So when does it open with Baruch? When does it end with Baruch? And when does it do both? So first of all, there is a long bracha and a short bracha. This is the source in 46a. We won't see it inside. I'm saying it to you, and you'd be able to look at here, or even to see the full discussion in the Gemara. There is a short bracha, bracha ktsara, and a long bracha, bracha aruka. A short bracha begins with Baruch, like Birkot HaNe'anim or Birkot HaRe'iyah that we say, right? Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam HaMotzi Lechem Min Haaretz. So it's a one-sentence bracha. A one-sentence bracha has Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam at its beginning, and then states what this bracha is about. Okay? Then we have longer brachot. Now, a long bracha goes on to say something long. So, for instance, Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bara Sason V'Simcha Chatan V'Kala Gila Rina Ditra V'Chedva Ava V'Chava V'Shalom V'Reut Meira Hashem Elokeinu V'Tishama B'Arei Yehuda. I get to the end, I forgot that I'm even saying a bracha. I conclude with a Baruch Ata Hashem Mesameach Chatan V'Chala. Now, note that the end doesn't have Elokeinu Melech HaOlam. Doesn't have to, because the beginning had that, but you have to end with a Baruch Ata Hashem. So that is a long bracha. Okay, now sometimes brachot don't open with Baruch. Let's think about the Shmona Esrei. It's a set of 18 blessings, but only the first one starts with Baruch. All the rest only end with Baruch. They don't open with Baruch. Why is that? So when we have a set of brachot, it's enough that the first one opens with Baruch, and then the rest only conclude with Baruch. And the other could open because it's bracha smucha lachaverta. The Baruch that we just said counts for this as well. We end it with Baruch, start the next, end it with Baruch. Start the next, end it with Baruch. That is when we have a set of many brachot, even though they are long, and the brachot of Shmona Esrei are considered long because they have a few sentences in each bracha, I only conclude I don't have to open with a baruch. Okay, so that is a bit technicality of how the same with Birkot Haftara, right? We the first bracha of Birkot Haftara has baruch, the last one baruch at the beginning and the end, and all the rest have only baruch at their end for the same exact reason. It's a set of brachot. Okay. Let's look at the words themselves. So, Ata, I understand. I'm addressing Hashem. Hashem Elokeinu, I'm addressing Hashem by name. Okay, that's also important. But Melech HaOlam, I must recognize Hashem as King of the universe. That is also important. Okay, so that all I understand. There's a lot to say about it. Why referring to Hashem as King, as Melech HaOlam, is so important to a bracha. That's a discussion to have. We're not going to address it today because we don't have time. But by the way, pay attention how this ties into Rosh Hashanah. Malchuyot is a big issue on Rosh Hashanah, and we'll discuss it then, and then we might also understand why each bracha must contain Melech HaOlam. But today we're not going to address it, but I can understand, intuitively, I understand why I refer to Hashem as master of the universe, but what I don't understand is one thing, the word Baruch. What does that mean? Now, Baruch is the main thing in the bracha, right? It's called bracha. What does it mean when I come to Hashem, I stand before Hashem, and I say, bless you, God. Bless you, God, King of the universe. What? Hashem needs our bless. What does it mean? When I bless someone, let's say someone does me a favor and I say, bless you. I mean to say, may Hashem bless you, meaning we'll give you everything you want, we'll grant you something, I bless you with something. But turning to Hashem and blessing Hashem seems preposterous. Like, what is it that we're doing? Now, this is such a fundamental question because, as I just said, these are the units of Tefillah. Any davening whatsoever that we do is through brachot. So if we don't understand this, we don't understand what we're doing in Tefillah. To understand what we're doing in Tefillah, we have to understand what this Baruch stands for, because this is the main thing that we tell Hashem. It will change the rest of the brachot just denotes the occasion on which I'm saying this bracha. So some brachot, again, I'll say as Birkot HaShachar, some I'll say as davening, some I'll say, but there'll always be brachot. So what is it that I'm saying? What is it that I'm saying to Hashem? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. Baruch atah Hashem. What is it? What does it mean? So that is the big question. So first of all, we have to understand it. But second, it's very difficult to understand because the regular notion of what bracha is makes no sense here. So here I want to make a disclaimer. Chazal set tefillot, they set brachot, and they even argued what brachot should be said where and when and how, but they barely told us why they're setting things the way they are. So if they told us that we should say if they told us that we should say a bracha, they didn't tell us why or what it means, what it's all about. They just said, so before we said, a bracha must contain the name of Hashem. Okay, but why? A bracha, or they just told us that a bracha is what are the units of tefillah, or they didn't tell us, we just see that they are. And now we have to figure out why. But us figuring out why they are the units of tefillah is not what is our theory. So we have to be very careful when we look at the sources, what the sources actually tell us, what we could be 100% sure about, then what we could, let's say, historically reconstruct, and then let's call it the philosophical or theological meaning that we that we think it has, but all of that, it's our theories. Maybe ours, maybe also rabbis of previous generations, but they didn't get it from Chazal. They tried to figure it out themselves as well. It's very important to always keep that distinction in mind. I'll just go see what's with the light. I'll be there.
Lights in the dark.
Even the other bracha that we usually say afterwards, he's washing their hands. People usually wash their hands.
But you don't dry them.
Okay, sorry. That's the price of having so many things happening that people touch buttons without knowing what is it that they're doing.
You have to re-push your button.
No, this is fine. I think it is. Yeah, no, it's fine. Okay. So what is it that we're doing when we're saying a bracha? We have to figure this out, and the problem is that Chazal didn't tell us. So we have later Mekubalim that told us, but it's very difficult to figure out what they are saying. And then there are later writings as well, and we will try and understand what's going on here. So the Sharei Orah, Rabbi Yosef Jektilia is one of the great early Mekubalim, and he has a book called Sharei Orah, and there he explains bracha from the word brecha, meaning a source. And others later, there is the Rashba, one of the great Rishonim, also explains it as an abundance, as a flow. So we have a flow that comes from a source. So what is it that we say when we say Baruch? Then they say Hashem gave us as human beings a power to bless. What does that mean, bless? Basically, when something happens, and this is my free interpretation to what the Sharei Orah is saying, I could look at a phenomenon and I could say, I understand very well why there's light here, and explained it in physical terms and in scientific terms. It makes perfect sense. The Sharei Orah doesn't talk about physics, he talks about astrology. Those days, similar to ours, they understood that there are powers that cause things to be. That could be understood independent of Hashem, if we only want to. Today we call those powers science, then they believed it's astrology, but the concept is the same, meaning I could give explanations to reality, or before that, if I was an ancient Greek, I could talk about the gods doing all kinds of things, whatever it is, whatever the explanation is. So I see a phenomenon and I understand it. Okay, it is what it is. So let's say today I'll explain it as a physical phenomenon, and that's it. When I say Baruch, I say no, this flow comes from God. But that saying has a power, because that means that now it is coming from God. So in a sense, now we have to be very careful. In a sense, it didn't come from God before, and it does come from God now. What does that mean? So in Kabbalah, I said it's an underground shiur, right? So no, in this sense, it's not underground. This is not so controversial, but I'll say in Kabbalistic terms, then in more existential terms, the way Rav Soloveitchik does it, and we'll read it inside. In Kabbalistic terms, there is Hashem. Hashem, we're not able to leit machshavat tfisa ve'klal, right? Hashem is beyond, it's transcendent. There's nothing we could talk about. But then when we talk about it, we do talk about it. So we talk about, there is our imagination of what Hashem is, our imagination, our understanding. That is not actually Hashem, because our understanding, we're not able to comprehend Hashem. But we try to get as close as possible, something like that. And then it goes down and down. And then there is the way Hashem is. Now, the question is, in what sense is Hashem in this world? So in one sense, he's very much, everything in this world emanates from Hashem. Hashem is responsible for everything in this world, but it's not that this world is Hashem, right? This chair is a chair, it's not Hashem. But Hashem is responsible for this chair being here. Now, okay, but in what sense but there is a sense that I bring Hashem into this world when I'm aware of Hashem, of the fact that things stem from Hashem. Meaning, the world in which we live, to a great extent, is our comprehension, our understanding of the world. It is not. There is we could talk about the ontological world, that is the world as it is, right? And then there is our epistemic world, which is the way we perceive the world. And then the question of Hashem's presence is not only whether Hashem is out there in the ontological world, he's there whether we think it or not, but is Hashem in our epistemic world, in the way we perceive the world. And that is very important because the world in which we live, the world that we experience, is the world that we perceive. Yes? And I don't want to get too philosophical, so I'll just, if it somehow resembles something, then it does. If not, it doesn't really matter. But what Sharei Orah is basically saying, that sphira, our perception of the world in Kabbalah is called Sfirat Malchut, by the way. Okay, here again we got to Malchut, and we'll discuss it again when we get to Rosh Hashanah, to Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot. But when the Kotzker Rebbe was asked once, where is Hashem? And he said, Hashem is anywhere you let him in. And this is exactly what he meant. Exactly what he meant. I might go to a place, to a culture that don't recognize Hashem and don't know anything about Hashem. And when I'm there, I feel that Hashem is really not there. Like everything is so foreign. Everything is so far away from what Hashem wants and the way Hashem would like his world to be. And like Hashem is not here. And then I could go to a place where people fear Hashem and think about Hashem the whole time, and they do things only according to what Hashem wants. And I'll have a sense that this is where Hashem is here. Hashem is here. So there's something about the awareness of people that creates reality in some real sense. And Rav Soloveitchik describes it in a very existential way, and that I want to read it inside. So that is under number 4, but the second paragraph is from Yemei Zikaron. Yesh b'china she'af ribono shel olam kevayachol zakuk lanu. There is a sense in which even the master of the universe, so to speak, needs us. B'china zo mechune ribono shel olam b'shemot. In that sense, Hashem is described in different names. Shechina, the divine presence. Malchut, we spoke about Malchut, right? Kingship. Matronita, queen. Kala, bride. Uvekitsur, nukva. All of these aspects of Hashem are the feminine side of God, and this is true in Kabbalah. It's true to general in general. The male and female in the truth is it's in all mythological writing, but also writings. But this is true also very much in Kabbalah, that there is the male and the female. The male is the dominant side, and the feminine, the female is the what would you say, the accepting side. The feminine side is the accepting, and in that sense, mankind is the giving. So we always think of Hashem as giving us, and we have everything from Hashem. And now of salvation, this is why this is an underground shiur, right? This is not some esoteric This is from Soloveitchik, yes? These words, I didn't make them up. They're here, right? So there is a sense that we are hamashpi'im ve'anotnim. We are influencing and giving something kevayachol to the divine presence. Hashchina kevayachol menu'a militgalot. Now he explains what this means. The divine presence is held back from revealing itself. Okay? It is it is not dominant, it is retreating, it is feminine in that sense. And it is like a king that is in, how do you say, in shackles, in azakim. Sorry, what? Yeah, in cuffs, yeah. Yes. האדם הוא שצריך לשחרר את המלכה קדישה מאזיקים. It is mankind that needs to free the holy queen from her cuffs, מההסתר, מהענן, from hiding, from the thickness of the cloud, כדי שיאיר בזיוו את פני העולם, in order for Hashem to light and shine upon the world and bring his light to the world. The master of the universe is omnipotent, except for one thing, revealing himself. Regarding revealing Hashem, so we are the ones that are supposed to, or that are able to reveal Hashem. Now, think about it. In what sense does Hashem reveal himself? Hashem reveals himself in the sense that we recognize that he's here. But we have to recognize it. And if we're not recognizing it, then he's not here. And he will never reveal himself in a way that there is no bchira to us whether to recognize it or not. There will always be an element of, how do you say, choice, or an element of of free will or choice on our behalf, whether we recognize his presence or not. And since that is in our hands, then we are the ones that are able to reveal God. And no one else, including Hashem, in that sense. This is because Hashem wants it to be this way. Obviously, Hashem could create a world in which he dominates. Hashem could, if he wants to just reveal himself, but then there is no point to existence.
But
right?
I've seen Hashem revealed himself in the names.
Right. So that's a very interesting question. It could be it was a one-time phenomenon. Could be. And even, right. We exactly. So in that sense, לאחר ברכת ברוך אתה, once we say ברוך אתה, נוכחת השכינה ומצויה בכל פרוסה של הפרי, בכל פריחה. So we take a piece of bread and we say the words Baruch Atah. Now Hashem is within this piece of bread. We're able to see how we recognize that this comes from Hashem. We just revealed that truth in the world. This came from Hashem. We connected this to Hashem. Here I want to say another thing. I'm not too sure about the etymology of the word bracha, but the word bracha, and this is discussed in a few places, is shoresh bet reish kaf. Think about that root, bet reish kaf. This is a berech. Why is it called a berech? Because it joins two things. But it's not just joining, it's joining something or connecting it to its source, right? My leg, if it's not connected to me, would have no life. So it's the joint that connects it. The lehavricha gmalim is to bring them to the water. So it could be because they go on their time, but it also could be that I'm connected them to their source of life, to their sustenance, to the water. A brecha could be a source of sustenance to which everything is connected and everything flows from. So lehavrich, it's not grafting. Grafting is to put two branches together. But what do you call it when you take a loose branch of a tree and you stick it? No, you stick it into the ground. It's called havracha. I'm not sure grafting is halkava, but then there is another. But you take a branch, you put it in the ground, you connected it to its sustenance. So basically, bracha is connecting something to what gives it its power. So we look at the world and we could see this world as disconnected from Hashem. Everything, science explains everything doesn't come from Hashem. It's not connected to anything. But when we are mevarech Hashem, then we are mavrich the world to Hashem, so to speak. We make a connection between the world, between our lives and Hashem. That is the essence, I think, in a way, of what bracha is. So what is it that we do with tefillah? We connect to Hashem. We connect to Hashem. We connect when we eat a piece of bread. We are connecting the sensation that we feel when we eat the bread. We connect the experience of understanding where this bread comes from, where did it have to travel, and how many miracles and how many things had to happen in order for us to have this piece of bread. And we imagine all of that in our mind and understand that all of that is connected to Hashem. By that, we turn our lives into a religious experience. We wake up in the morning. We hear the rooster. We say, Baruch Atah Hashem. It's not just a rooster that is saying, this is Hashem. Hashem is calling me through the rooster, and I understand it. I bless Hashem through it. So that is the essence of each and every bracha is exactly that. And bracha is at the heart of davening, because what davening does, the most important thing that it is connecting us to Hashem. First and foremost, by talking to Hashem. Baruch Atah Hashem. We're not talking about Hashem. We are connecting ourselves to Hashem. We're not just saying this piece of bread is from Hashem and that's amazing. No, this sensation that I'm having, the experience that I am having is from Hashem. And I'm standing in front of Hashem and I'm even having a conversation with Hashem. I'm telling Hashem, I realize this is from you. Baruch Atah Hashem. And in that sense, I'm revealing Hashem in this world through my recognition. So that is if we want a bracha. And now I have a question. Because now that we understand what a bracha is, then we have sets of brachot that we say here. What is the difference between there are brachot that we call davening, and then there are brachot that I said they're not part of the davening. So what are they? So Kriyat Shema, we said it's not davening. But the brachot of Kriyat Shema are davening. So what is the difference? Because that is what they are. I'm talking to Hashem. Baruch Atah Hashem. I'm talking to Hashem. So what's the difference between Birkot Kriyat Shema and the Amidah? When Chazal talk about Tefillah, they talk about the Amidah. The Amidah is referred to as Tefillah. The other brachot might loosely, sometimes we refer to some of them as Tefillah because they're part of the service, but not all the service, as I said before, is Tefillah. Kriyat Shema is not Tefillah. So, but the brachot of Kriyat Shema are Tefillah, and in that sense, why all of a sudden we have Tefillah here and Tefillah there? What's the difference between all the brachot and the Amidah? That the Amidah, we have a set of brachot that we call davening, that's Tefillat Shacharit, and then we have other brachot that we say Sheva brachot. Why Sheva brachot are not Tefillah? Sheva brachot are also Tefillah in that sense. What is the difference? So that is a very important question, and I just read a few days ago something amazing about this, something I never thought about before. There is David Henschke. He's a professor, but he's also a rabbi. I think before he became a professor, he taught he was a Ram in Ma'ale Adumim many years ago. But anyhow, he has an article on brachot. He has many articles about many things, but he writes about brachot and about tefillah. About the Amidah, about Shemona Esrei. He asks, what is the difference between the Amidah and any other blessings that we have? And he says the difference is that all other blessings are connected to something else other than themselves, except for the Amidah. What does that mean? So think about all the blessings. So we have Birkot HaNe'enim. So there is something that is about to happen. We're about to eat. And that act of eating, we are connecting it to Hashem. We just saw something in nature, Birkot HaRe'iyah, and we are connecting that experience to Hashem. Or sometimes it could be we are about to perform a mitzvah, Kriyat HaTorah, Kriyat Shema, getting married, Kiddushin. All of those things, there are mitzvot, but now we are surrounding that mitzvah with let's call it a liturgic package, yes? And those are the brachot. But the brachot come to accompany something else. we have only once, only one kind of brachot that are not connected to anything other than themselves, and that is the Amidah. The Amidah is not connected to anything. The Amidah is just, now it's time to stand before Hashem and to talk to Him. That's it. It's not because I heard something. It's not because something happened. 3 times a day, I just stop everything that I'm doing, and I charge myself. I connect myself to Hashem. I now stand and talk to Hashem. Why? Because I want to talk to Hashem. So all of the other brachot are about I'm connecting my experiences to Hashem. There is a trigger. Here there is no trigger other than I need to be connected to Hashem just because. Not because something happened. Not because I'm thinking something. Nothing. It's just I want to be connected to Hashem. So Shema is connected to mitzvah kriyat Shema. So there is a mitzvah to declare my faith to Hashem, and around it there is brachot that are sovevet, like brachot kiddushin, meaning it's not connected. The mitzvah itself is not connecting to Hashem. It's not talking to Hashem. It's declaring our faith to Hashem. But then we say, since we're declaring our faith to Hashem, let's tell Hashem that we're doing it. Let's talk to Hashem. But that talking to Hashem is because we're about to declare, or because we just declared our faith to Him. In the Amidah, we didn't declare our faith to Him. We didn't eat a piece of bread. We didn't hear the rooster. We don't see a beautiful scenery or whatever. Nothing. We're just, I want to connect to Hashem now. I want to connect to Hashem now. That's it. So that is the at the heart of Tefillah. I think that's a very beautiful idea. I could talk about it so long, but I think that gives us a good idea of what this is about. Now let's look at the set of the Amidah itself and see how it's structured. So the way the Amidah is structured, it's a set of brachot that are the same set almost every day. So the set of brachot that we say every weekday are the same, and then on Shabbat we change some of them, but not all of them, right? We change the middle ones, the 3 first ones and the 3 last ones we leave every Shabbat and Yom Tov. We don't change. It's just the middle changes according to the day in which we stand. Okay, there is a technical reason to that, because on Shabbat and Yom Tov, we're not supposed to concentrate on our needs, on our own personal needs. So the brachot that we say on a weekday belong to the weekdays. On Shabbat, we don't concentrate on our needs, so we talk about Shabbat. On Yom Tov, we talk about Yom Tov. Okay, so any other day we have 3. What are the 3 first and the 3 last? Why are they important? So here the Gemara tells us already in Brachot 34a, that is source number 5. אמר רב יהודה לעולם אל ישאל אדם צרכיו לא בשלוש ראשונות ולא בשלוש אחרונות אלא באמצעיות. Okay, so the first 3 are not about asking, but about something else. דאמר רבי חנינא, רבי חנינא explained, ראשונו דומה לעבד שמסדר שבח לפני רבו, אמצעיות דומה לעבד שמבקש פרס מרבו, אחרונו דומה לעבד שקיבל פרס מרבו ונפטר והולך לו. Okay, we have the first 3, that is, we are addressing Hashem. So we are addressing Hashem. We want to experience who Hashem is. So we are telling Hashem who He is for us. So first of all, Elokei Avotenu, Elokei Avraham, Yitzchak, Elokeinu. You're not. Our relationship, Hashem, doesn't start with me. You know who it starts with? It starts with Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. I'm that seed that you promised Avraham. That is who I am. And I'm addressing you as that. I'm not addressing you as just this speck of dust that is floating somewhere in the atmosphere. I'm on a long chain. My identity is much deeper and richer, and my relationship with you, Hashem, starts even before I existed. Because your relationship with Avraham Avinu was actually a relationship with me. This is what I tell Hashem when I first meet Him. Yes? Or not when I first meet Him, but when I say, Elokei Avotenu, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak. Okay. And then I go, you know something? It goes even deeper than that. You are actually the source of life. So that's I actually come from you, and you are koneh kol, everything, you're master of everything. So basically, I'm part of existence, I'm part of reality, and as part of that, and in some miraculous way, I have my own consciousness that and awareness that I'm able to stand in front of you and tell you that's amazing. And I speak to Hashem, and then all of a sudden I'm held back, and I say, just a minute, just a minute. Before I think I'm this, we're buddies, I have to recognize that Hashem is transcendent. Hashem is, it's not just someone that, I just said Atah, so maybe I could have a conversation, I could tell, you're transcendent. The truth is, I have a relationship with you that goes way back, but I still cannot grasp you. You are so transcendent, Atah Kadosh. And by the way, there's another understanding of Kadosh, but we don't have time to get into it today. But that is our introduction to Hashem. Once we introduced ourselves and Hashem to the conversation, now we're able to have it. Now we go into, Hashem, I need a bit of this, a bit of that, and there is the sequence of the brachot actually make perfect sense. So it starts, I'll just say the first one, Atah chonen l'adam da'at. We all know, right? One of the most terrible things, right? Today, with life expectancy, Baruch Hashem, being so long, we see people losing their faculties. It's the most terrible thing, right? The most terrible experience for a person and their surrounding is when they don't have that, when they're not all there. So that is the most important. Without that, right? You used to ask those people a few generations ago, they would tell you, Ha'ikar habriut, right? Health is everything. Today, they say, something, if you're healthy, but you don't have your marbles, then maybe it's better to not be healthy, right? Because having our faculty is the most, our cognition is the most important. So Atah chonen, and then from there we go one thing by one thing, and there is a sequence there, and at the end, after we ask, now let's say Hashem Elokeinu, Modim, and Sim Shalom. Why are these the end? So Modim, we understand, that's thanking Hashem for everything. Let's say Hashem is connecting our prayers to the korbanot. After we finish davening, we're saying, it used to be that prayers were connected with korbanot, that at the time of prayer, of davening in Beit HaMikdash, they were bringing korbanot. Today there are no korbanot. Hashem, please bring them back. Modim, thank you Hashem, and Sim Shalom is like, thank you Hashem, now once you answered everything, then that in itself would be Sim Shalom, would be peace. There are other explanations to Sim Shalom. I don't want to get into it right now because it's not the matter of the Shiur. Maybe one day we'll explain also how exactly that ties into Shmona Esrei, but that is basically the structure of Shmona Esrei. Now those middle brachot on Chagim and Yamim Tov and Shabbatot are filled with other brachot. As I said, we don't ask our tzachim on Shabbat. We do something else. Okay. What on Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah, there's one exception to the rule, and that is on Rosh Hashanah we have how many? Look at the chart that I brought at number 8. We have on weekdays we have 3 brachot at the beginning, then 13 in the middle, 3 at the end. Shabbat and Yom Tov, 3 at the beginning, 1 in the middle, 3 at the end, except for Rosh Hashanah, Musaf of Rosh Hashanah. We have 3 at the beginning, 3 in the middle, and 3 at the end. What happened on Rosh Hashanah that 1 was not enough? Right? Every Chag, 1 bracha is enough to encapsulate the essence of the day. On Rosh Hashanah, for some reason, Chazal couldn't encapsulate the essence of the day in 1 bracha. They had to divide it into 3: Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot. That is the question that we'll open with next week, Be'ezrat Hashem. So what we saw today is we noticed that all the liturgical landscape is made out of blocks, units, like sort of Lego pieces that are brachot. We discussed what these brachot are, and we said what they are essentially is connecting to Hashem through direct conversation. That is the essence of a bracha, and by that, basically bringing Hashem, so to speak, into this world. By us recognizing Hashem, then Hashem reveals Himself in this world. As we saw, Rav Soloveitchik said that it's that choice that we could have, either to see it as dead matter or as live divine divine flow, that is up to us. And if we see it that way, then indeed Hashem is here in this world. And then we spoke about the difference between Tefillah and other brachot. The specialty about Tefillah is that these brachot are not connected to anything outside of themselves. It's just talking to Hashem 3 times a day. We stop everything, we stand, and we address Hashem. We saw the structure of the Amidah, the 3 first brachot, introducing ourselves, the 3 last brachot, saying thank you and goodbye, and the middle, which is the heart of the Tefillah, on weekdays asking, on Shabbatot and Yamim Tovim, talking about the day, and we ended up with a question, what about Rosh Hashanah? Why Rosh Hashanah, Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot? So, thank you very much, and continue next week, Be'ezrat Hashem.